Hello, my name is Mariana, and today this is a reading for Gemini. So, Gemini, as usual, I'm doing a reading with my own tarot deck, so the cards you see are from this deck. And today, Gemini, you have a very interesting reading because it's actually coming through with the vibe of that movie, The Maze Runner, and this ability to strategize and create pathways or find your way through a maze, through a tricky situation where you need to know exactly where you're going. And it's like you're trying to predict or trying to anticipate all of the dangers of a tricky situation to navigate it with, well, consciousness, but also with logic. Logic is important and hard work is important. It's like, I feel like the way that your reading is showing me today, it's like this is the final run. This is the final attempt to cross this maze, because it feels like you have been working out strategies, right? To work in the best constructive way against the dangers, against the monsters, against the mental traps that could just catch you by surprise. It's like you don't want to be surprised by the things that could stall you, that could prevent you from completing this tricky maze. Because that's the thing, you want to get out. And there are things that you know that are going to show, that are going to appear out of nowhere to trap you, right? And all of this, Gemini, is like a mental maze. It feels like you have been working out a solution, a way out of this mental maze, because you're showing up here as this Knight of Swords, and this was activating this warrior mode. But it's like this mental warrior. I feel like, maybe you're going through a moment of anxiety or depression or panic attacks, or just, this overthinking mind. So it's like you're planning, you're wanting and desiring to create or establish this plan of attack in regards to something that you've been sensing, that you have been receiving, that you have been, maybe trapped within, right? Maybe we're talking about mental illness or mental health, right? Wanting to escape the prison of your thoughts, or like the patterns that have been, making you run in circles, or making you feel like you're trapped in this mental maze, right? The reason for that is because the Ten of Swords is coming reversed. And this was talking about the maze, you needing to be quick, but also you knowing where to go. So if we go to the movie, The Maze Runner, that was exactly how I was seeing this. The main character, which I cannot remember the name, he went a few times, right, into the maze, but then came back. And each time that he went in, he was learning, he was studying what were the tricks, how the maze worked, how it changed, how the monsters would appear, or what was the timing of it, how long would he have to go in and out, right? And so this is what I feel like you have been doing. It's like either you have been dealing with some sort of mental disorder, or like just simple anxiety or stress, right? Just the overthinking of your mind. It's like you have been studying it. It's like it's been really close. You have the feeling like you have to be prepared. Like you have to work out how to best leave, how to best escape, how to best create the right solution, the right strategy through the maze, right? Because the Ten of Swords is emphasizing that there is no way to simply escape it out of thin air, right? It's like, it's not like you're going to evaporate from this situation, from this mental maze, this mental trap. It feels like you have to run through it, but it's like a labyrinth, right? It's like there are tricky paths. There are, maybe we're talking about like, this neuropath, right? Or neuropaths in plural, right? It's like there are many ways out, right? So it's almost like you have to know which are the paths in your own brain that are going to be, the tricky parts, that are going to be the dead ends, that are going to be, keeping you there, keeping you stuck, trapped, and which are the ones that are going to liberate you, that are going to free you, that are going to give you time to think what is the best way out. The Four of Swords coming next, it's the time that you're giving yourself to think things through in a better way, in a way that is a lot more strategic, a lot more intelligent, a lot more prepared, right? So these three cards coming in this sequence, this was showing me all of the, trials, all of the attempts, all of the times that you went in to study, just like that character in the movie, and the moment that you came back to the headquarters, in a sense, the center of your brain, the center of your resting place, like your cabin, right? It's like the center of the maze was where they consider, let's say, their home, in a sense. And I feel like this is more or less what this Four of Swords is showing as the headquarters, where you have time to think. It's like, here is the go, 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 right? There is no time to think. There is only time to do and go for it, and realize that you're in the middle of the maze. This is the maze itself. This is you preparing to go for another trial, go for another attempt, but it seems like you need more time, right? It's like, the last time that you went in, it's like you have, picked up a few other things. You've learned a few other pathways that maybe were dead ends, or maybe were the way to go, but you need time to think, right? It's like, now you need to regroup with yourself, meditate, sleep on it, rest on the new informations that came from the last time that you went through those trigger points, through those tricky situations, right? Or when you were inside that mental maze, being the metaphor for dealing with anxiety, dealing with depression, dealing with the panic attack, with the overthinking mind, however you want to see the Ten of Swords, right? It feels like there is always like this persecution. It's like, because the tens to me are the shared path, but I feel like this is you like running away from your own mental monsters, right? It's like the other sword here on the back, it's like the thing that you're running from, right? The anxiety perhaps, or it's like the whatever you feel like could come up out of the blue, right? Could come to scare you, could come to trap you. This is the shared company, right? Or the shared path. This is the company that you feel like every time that you are in this situation, you have this heavy presence, right? It's like having the company of, a mental monster in a sense, right? It's like there's always this shadow side, or this this heavy weight right? That is accompanying you in this mental maze. But when you regroup with yourself, I feel like you realize, Gemini, that yes, there are ways out. It's a maze. You have to find, it's almost like, yes, you have to go in and out a dozen times to realize what is the best way out. Because I feel like it's not a matter only of being smart and being intelligent and even being prudent, right? To use well your mind in a way that you're not going to fall into the same traps over and over again. Once you've learned that that's the dead end, then you have to find another path, another neural path perhaps. But the thing about being smart here is not that, like, it's not like only using your rational intelligence. It's also about using your emotional intelligence, because that's the new element that I feel like you've picked up about this last time that you were in this maze. And this is what you've been thinking about. The Eight of Cups is talking about this inundation. It's talking about this flood of emotions that come through. So maybe the last companion that you had that was weighing you was actually this trigger of your emotions, and how this comes in like a flood, like a tsunami, right? The way that I'm seeing this, it's like, it's not necessarily a monster. It's more like a ton of water that is going to drown you, right? So it's like maybe emotions that are heavy, that are dense, like fear, like insecurity. It's like all of the dense emotions, right, that are just keeping you trapped. And this is what you've learned the last time. So this is the new piece. It seems like before that you were dealing with this in a more rational way. It's like the approach that you were taking was maybe a more logical one. But the thing about always thinking that you would find a way out, because you were always trying to be smart and on top of the situation using your reason, is that in a mental maze, the last, how do I want to say this? It's like the last trick for the mental maze to keep you trapped is to use something else other than the mental aspect, but the emotional aspect. I hope that this makes sense, Gemini. It's like you cannot defeat this by using your logic. You need to be smarter than that, and you need to use your intelligence, but from the emotional point of view. Because this is going to inundate you. This is going to come like a flood, right? A flood of emotions that perhaps can be so overwhelming that it will overtake you if you don't think things through, not only with your mind, which you are thinking about the best strategies to navigate through this flood, and working on building a barrier, building a barricade, building a wall that is going to stop this dense emotional wave to catch you. So I feel like with the Eight of Pentacles coming next, what you're realizing is that not only you can run through this maze, but you can build things to block the triggers, to block the pathways, to block the things that could catch you by surprise and overtake you and overwhelm you, right? It's like with hard work. And this now is coming through as, you know, the strategy that you're finding this last time, because you went in and maybe you felt overwhelmed, right? You were overtaken by the emotions. So when you were back, which I feel like you are back in your headquarters, meditating on it, sleeping on it, thinking about what is now the best solution, since this new piece of information came to your awareness, and now realize that not only you're dealing with the mental stress, but also with the emotional triggers. So there is a way to block this, and I want to say is with you know, this constant practice of strategizing, meditating, using tools in this it's like in this peaceful, protected headquarters of yours, right? So it's like there is a piece of your brain that feels like it's safe, like it's protected. It's not the mental maze, right? It's like it's outside, it's removed from that. Whenever you are in this place, it feels like you can work on building barricades not to be overwhelmed whenever you are in the mental maze. And I feel like this has to do with the ability that you have to work with your emotions. The Three of Cups here is, well, the threes to me has the threes has have a lot to do with co-creation, but because it's coming right after you realize that the last trick, the last trigger is the emotional aspect, then you have to integrate the emotions and work with your emotions in a way that is constructive for you and it's not overwhelming you. So it's like learning about, maybe it's a matter of thinking about and discerning what are the dense emotions that are going to make you completely overwhelmed, or which are the constructive emotions that are actually going to be helpful in building the barricade to prevent the flood to catch you, to reach you. Because I feel like it is very relevant that you're thinking about your emotions right now, because I feel like so far you haven't. It's like so far you were only thinking about the rational aspect. With all of the swords, it's like the strategies that you have been elaborating, maybe they were only associated with the mind, right? Maybe you were only thinking about, you know, the psychological aspect and not the emotional. You were just thinking about the rational, logical way out of this. So maybe you were thinking, okay, so now I am going to deal with this deciding, right? It's like a mental decision. But if you didn't learn, like I feel like you did the last time that you went in and maybe you were overwhelmed, if you didn't learn that you also have to integrate the emotional aspect, then you wouldn't know how to work with this part of your mental maze that is bringing in a last, it's like the last stretch, right? The last thing, the last surprise, right? And that's the thing, you don't want to be surprised, you want to be prepared. You are this warrior, this it's like you are in your mind this warrior capable of overcoming this, of coming out of this maze. But if you don't know exactly what is in the maze, that there is no way that you can fight it, that you can, you know, run from it. And I feel like there is like this small window of opportunity, I want to say, where the reason why you need to take time out to think things through is that you're going to be squeezed between the monsters in your mind that are coming from this logical aspect, which you already know, and you already know how to escape from them, right? Because you have been doing this. But the last bit of information about what is in this maze that, yes, perhaps could keep you trapped, is the emotional aspect. And this requires a lot of hard work. So it's like you have a very, it seems like not a lot of time, but the amount of time that you give yourself to think things through with your intelligence, with your reason, with your logic, but also with your emotions, right? With your emotional balance. It's like you're able to work hard in a small amount of time to just to make the most out of this window of opportunity, to build this barricade, to prevent that from, you know, knocking you down, and embracing, ending here with the Seven of Cups, embracing just the emotions or just the waves that are actually going to be helpful, right? It's like the 3 to me is coming through as like, what are the emotions that are constructive? What are the emotions that you can co-create your way out of this maze? Because the sevens are, well, especially the 7 of Cups, talks about the embrace, right? So if here with the 8 of Cups, which is just one more cup than this, right? So it feels like it's not a lot that you need to get rid of, but perhaps, you know, there's one emotion, which could be fear, for instance, that if you block the fear, right, it's like this wall, it's not going to be like this this block. It's actually going to work as a filter, because the filter is you working with your emotions, knowing which are the emotions that you have to block and which are the ones that are going to be constructive for you to, it's like for you to catch that wave and remove yourself from this maze, right? It's like the emotions are overwhelming and they could keep you trapped, or they could be, if you embrace them, your way out. And this is what you are strategizing about. This is what you're working on right now, right? So I feel like that's the last bit of information that you need to, you know, really create this strategy and remove yourself from this maze. Work with your emotions, Gemini. So I am going to pull more cards for you, and also I'm going to pull from the astrological runes in the extended reading. So if you want to join me there, I'll be very happy to see you. If not, I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.